video that has premiered just about half an hour ago of me chatting about stitches. So come on in, come armed with your questions, because Veronica and I were chatting as we were watching it, and we could see there were loads of people chatting in the comments in YouTube. So come on over and chat with us now about stitches, because it seemed to be something that people were really excited to talk about, which is nice, because I
Yes.
put it in, I kind of didn't really know what to say, but knew I wanted to say something about stitches, because it's so important, isn't it? Because like, can you believe that like we're both wearing crochet garments? Look how different they are, and
Absolutely.
that's just down, it's down to so many factors, obviously, like the yarn choice, the color, the this, the that, but the stitch, it's amazing in crochet that we have all of these stitches that we can use, and we can use them for so many different reasons and factors, and we can make the fabric that we want to make by just changing the stitches.
Absolutely, yeah. So such a contrast. I think
We didn't
this
even
was totally unplanned. That what a contrast, isn't it? Like, you know, nice and smooth fabric with not much texture, not much going on, just, you know, nice and plain. And then when we look at Hannah's top, look at all that texture combined with open stitches as well. Yeah, we both got the ribbon around the neckline and on our sleeves there. So yeah, this is the beauty of crochet, that you can just pick and choose. You know, sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming to choose a stitch, isn't it? Like, you know, but I think what helps me when I'm trying to decide on what stitch to use for my next design, I just kind of need to just pause for a minute and visualize the finished look, what I am aiming for, what I want to achieve. Do I want to achieve a lot of texture? You know, do I want bobbles and popcorn stitches and, you know, stitches popping out of the fabric? Do I want something open, lacy, something what's going to be quite light for summer? Or do I want something like this, something plain and simple, timeless, that's going to fit into your wardrobe? So I think before you start looking into different stitches and different patterns of putting stitches together, I think that's the one thing you need to answer for yourself, don't you? You need to nail down that finished look, and then you need to stick with it, because sometimes it's like, oh, I just want a bit of this stitch, I want a bit of that stitch, which, you know, sometimes it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but sometimes you can get a little bit overwhelmed by all these stitches then popping out at you. And yeah, sometimes I've done that before myself, when you think like, okay, I overcomplicated this, it's looking a bit of a mess, let's get back to the drawing board and let's just nail down your initial vision of what you want to achieve with your stitches. So I popped a question in the chat over on YouTube for you guys to let us know, what is your favorite stitch when it comes to garments? What do you guys like to use? Is it texture? Is it something kind of 3D shape, bobbles or popcorns? Or do you like lace? Do you like plain fabric? What do you like? What is the look you guys are looking for when it comes to stitches? So let us know in the comments.
It's hard, isn't it? And I spoke about it in the video bit, that there are so many factors that go into it, but I think you have to think really carefully about what yarn you choose. As a maker, my main message to you is think about the stitch, about the pattern that you've chosen, and then think about what yarn will best suit that stitch, because that can make or break a garment. And I think I showed this one, and I did say, like, I wouldn't make this in a fussy yarn. I wouldn't make it in a fluffy yarn. I wouldn't make it in a variegated yarn. I mean, you can, of course you can, but it would lose the essence of what I intended with this, which is to make these bobbles and these stitches stand out, and to make the lace stand out. So if you're using, say, a fluffy yarn on a lacy pattern, you're going to completely lose that lace, that intricate lace definition that you are after. If you want that look, then go for, like, this is not me saying don't do these things. It's me just saying think really carefully. And I think that's what you're saying as well, isn't it, Veronica?
Yeah.
Think about what you want to achieve.
That's
because
it.
as we keep saying, everything takes so much time, or can take so much time. So really invest the time before you start to figure out what you want. But also then that's not to say that it's not a good thing to experiment. I love people that try stuff out, and this is why gauge swatching is so good, and keeping your gauge swatches is so good, because you can refer back to them and you can say, oh, I really do like that stitch, or I've tried that stitch before and it just didn't work in that yarn, I'll try it in a different one. So there's just so many possibilities. There's lots of people chatting and I've completely ignored what they're saying. Hello everyone.
No, yeah, let's get back to the comments. Yeah,
I've not mastered them, but I'm obsessed with cables. Yes, yes. I think people find cables in crochet really challenging, don't they?
yeah,
Because you have to flip and you have to find where you need to go. You need to work across stitches and all that kind of jazz.
yeah.
It really is a technique that you really need to master. But there are some really simple cables, like really simple just crossovers that really don't involve you going back across yourself, that are a good place to start.
Yeah, and I think it's even don't work your stitches too tight. If you do need to cross over, just let that stitch, kind of the height of the stitch,
Think about the height.
give that stitch as much yarn as it needs to
Yeah.
really create the same height. Because if you do it too
Yeah.
tight, then kind of crossing over and working the back and front post stitches is gonna get a little bit tricky. So yeah, let that yarn flow when creating those cables. Yeah, make them.
And that's the thing, that's the whole thing about changing the angle of your hook. That's what I tend to do for your height of your stitch. If you're working cables, don't have your hook down. It's very tempting because you're actually going down, aren't you, into the stitch around it. Make sure you give it the space and pull it up to where it needs
Back up. That's it.
And we've come across this in so many of the lessons, haven't we? When we were talking about gauge, it's about giving them the height they need. When we were talking about knit look stuff with Brianna, that's exactly what she was saying. Give your stitches the space that they need. That's our best advice.
Yeah.
Lots of people. Who's next? Ashley. I love lace, but there's a special place in my heart for simple stitch garments that really highlight beautiful yarn. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm a big fan of lace too. I love lace stitches. Yeah, they really can make you really stand out. I think I'm gonna wear it next. I'm gonna show off my lacy yoke sweater. I think it's next on the bed.
The pink one.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that one. I love it.
Yeah, so that's got a beautiful pineapple lace yoke. It's worked in round, top down, like we talked about constructions yesterday. So yeah, I really love that lace on that yoke. So I am a big fan of lace. And simple stitch garments. Yeah, timeless pieces. I mean, like this one, you can throw it on with jeans and trainers and it's gonna look good. You can really dress it up with, black trousers and like some nice little jacket over the top. So yeah, simple stitch garments. They are really kind of the building stones of your crochet wardrobe, aren't they? And then you can move on to something more fancy and more kind of intricate, like Hannah's wearing her top with like a bit of texture, a bit of open stitches. So real.
Yeah, and then closed on the sleeve, so it combines two different types of stitches. And as designers, that's the other thing I was talking about, is that we have to figure out whether is that going to make it too heavy if we use closed stitches here, but we've got open stitches here? Is that going to work with the fabric that we're creating? So yeah, and then your part as the maker is to come in and find that yarn, that perfect yarn that works for you, that you can afford, that you like the color of, and that works with the pattern that we've designed. So yeah, over to you guys once we
yeah. It just mentioning the yarn choices, you need to revisit Raylin's video where she really explains choosing and substituting yarn brilliantly. We spoke about it yesterday as well in that live Q&A.
Definitely. Oh, look what Julia said. I love all the stitches. I just pick and choose patterns depending on the season or how I'm feeling. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. Do what
yeah, exactly that vision, isn't it? So your vision is, right, it's summer, I want something light, lacy, open, or it's freezing cold, so I need something to wrap up and keep me warm. So that's that vision I was talking about at the beginning. Really nail down what you want your garment to be and what is the purpose of your garment as well, Do you want it to keep you warm? Do you want it to show off your lacy work? So yeah, it's really nailed down that initial vision and stick with it.
Definitely. Oh, Max, this has made me laugh. I prefer closed stitches with texture. I don't like lace, and I don't ever use tulle stitches such as treble crochet. That's made me laugh because, oh gosh, quite early on in my garment designing, I did a top with completely treble crochet stitches, so really tall stitches, and it was like Marmite. People like loved it or hated it, and I got so many messages from people saying, I'm not making that. It's full of full stitch. Like literally people saying, no way, Hannah. And I was like, sorry, everyone. But then the other side was like, people were like, this is amazing. It works up so quickly. The drape is amazing. You know, like it's a real love-hate relationship, I think, that people have with tall stitches. And I really like using them because they do, and Joanne talks about tulle stitches later on as well. Like they do add to the fabric. They give you more flexibility because there's less friction between the stitches.
Yeah.
So they're a really good tool to use if you like them. But some people just don't like the look of them. So, and that's completely fine, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
With what you
Absolutely.
like.
It goes down to personal preference, but half double crochet in back or front loop. Have you tried half double crochet in the third loop? That's another one, you know, that's another amazing stitch.
I'll wear that top next. I've got a top that alternates. So it does third loop, back loop, front loop, third loop, back loop, front loop.
Yep, there we go.
Texture.
I've got a sweater upstairs that is completely made out of half double crochet in third loop only, so it gives you that knit look, kind of fisherman ribbon style sweater. So I'm gonna wear that one later. So yeah, half double crochet is one of my favorite stitches because it's, you know, it's not too small.
Yes.
That it gives your fabric that real stiff feeling, but it's not too tall either, that it gives you those big gaps. So yeah, I think half double crochet is one of my favorites as well. It's that in between.
Yeah, and it doesn't take forever either. That's the other thing.
Absolutely.
I love combinations of plain and lacy or plain and textured. Yeah, I've seen more and more actually of combinations of stitches rather than just one stitch for an entire garment. I think, and again, this is the whole thing about the evolution of crochet garments, isn't it? People are using more stitches within stuff. They're experimenting with not only construction, but with what stitches get used where.
Yeah.
It's really exciting, and it's really exciting to hear that everyone loves this concept and where it all seems to be heading.
Yeah, and I don't think you can go wrong with that combination, can you? Like plain and lacy or plain and textured, you know, that plain being your basic timeless design, and then throw in there some extra bits of lace or texture to, you know, really bring it out. It's a really good combination.
Definitely. What Stacey said. Oh, Stacey, I love simple stitches with just a bit of interest here or there. Yeah, I've seen lots of garments with really plain stitches, and then they'll just have like a bobble here or a bobble there and stuff, and it's just that little pop, that little extra. But then it comes back to then talking about, like I did yesterday, saying about like, what would you wear? If you went into a store and that was presented to you in front of you, would you buy it? Would you buy it and wear it? And if the answer is no, then don't make that pattern.
Yeah.
And I think that's the danger, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, when you're making for other people as well, that's something that we haven't had a chance to cover in the summit, is that if you're making for someone else, I think it's definitely worth asking, unless it's a surprise, what would you like me to make for you? What would you wear? What color would you like it in? Because I think we've probably all had very well-intended, gifted knitwear given to us, perhaps in colours we may not have chosen. So yeah, if you're making for someone, I would definitely ask them what kind of style they like. Oh, we've got another vote for crochet cables. Woohoo!
Yeah. Once you kind of work out where to go and how to go, they are really fun to work up. Yeah, they're really quite striking, aren't they, cables?
Definitely.
I go through phases of wanting to make different stitches depending on my moods. Right now, I'm loving closed stitches, but with texture. Fantastic, yeah.
I've got lots of those designs.
Yeah.
And there's it when I was sorting all my stuff through, I was like, oh, this is kind of closed, but it has also got it. Oh, it is got, like, lots of stitches are hybrids, aren't they, of different styles?
Yeah. And you know, depending on the mood, that's all you need. If your mood can dictate to you what stitches to use because that's what you enjoy at the moment, just go with the flow, I say. Don't fight it. If it's texture, close stitches at the moment, go for it, enjoy it, because crochet is about enjoying yourself as well while you're working on something that you're gonna wear later. So yeah, absolutely great idea to just go with the flow.
Go with what you fancy. Oh, another vote for lacy patterns. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing an all over lacy top at the moment actually, and I'm not in fingering weight yarn. I nearly said four ply, in fingering weight yarn, and and I wasn't sure about. I'd like designed it on paper and then I made it, and I wasn't too sure about it. It's kind of like an open wedge stitch, and then when I blocked it, I was like, oh my goodness! It just like pulled, like lace is so amazing, isn't it? When you block it and you pull it out, and I was just like, yes, that works, doesn't it? So yes, lace, definitely block your lace stuff.
Yes.
Our next question is, will all the videos from the weekend be gone after today if you didn't purchase the masterclass? We don't know. Not all of them, I don't imagine, but we haven't stipulated to the designers whether we need them to keep them or get rid of them, but we definitely know that there are some that will be going. So the only way you can guarantee of having them all is to get the all access pass.
And just to say that the main summit page that you all guys jumping back to now, that one will be going as well. So obviously it won't be all in one place after the end of the summit, because it's obviously no longer needed. So yeah, that page will be going as well.
Oh, someone said, I think in response to the lacy, that's when you really need to block. Yep.
Absolutely. Hortense would be so proud.
Oh, this is a good idea. Max said, I keep a scrap afghan for testing stitches. Everywhere is different and a lot. That's very organised.
Yeah, I keep a log of which stitches I've tried. It's quite large and eventually it will become an afghan for the pets. That is so good. Very good idea, Max.
What an amazing idea. Because then you're not wasting the time. Some people say that, oh, I tried that stitch and I didn't like it, so I just pulled it out. At least you can use it for something. That's an amazing idea.
So yeah, you're not only using your scraps of yarn that you've got left over, you're learning new stitches and you're making something useful at the end of it. I mean, like, that's win all over, isn't it? That's a good idea.
Julia's just said that's a brilliant idea. It is a brilliant idea. Yes, everyone should do that. Oh, we've got one on fit here. So Stephanie is saying, I'm a pear-shaped lady, small top, wider hip area. How can I make a sweater that accommodates this and not be fit so straight down the pattern? So we touched on this yesterday, didn't we, with instructions and things. And I was like, yeah, that's me. My hips are bigger. And it's down to figuring out the construction. If you can find a top-down pattern, they're really easy to adjust and accommodate and make the hip section larger. Or what else did we say yesterday?
We said about when you kind of like sort of stitching the down end on your sweater on the bottom, your bottom hem. So leave this bit open, even if it's whether it has ribbon or it hasn't got ribbon. You can kind of leave a 5 centimeter like open. You don't have to stitch it right down to the end on your bottom hem. So that opening on either side of your body will kind of give you that bit of a space to accommodate for your hips. Or like Hannah said yesterday, if your sweater has got a ribbon at the bottom, because ribbon normally kind of pulls it in a little bit, doesn't it? Like the ribbon pulls things in. So you can maybe change the style of ribbon. I mean, we will be talking about ribbon later with Michelle. So she has got some, because some ribbons pull in more than others. So maybe change the style of ribbon that's used in a pattern for ribbon that's more stretchy, or ribbon that doesn't actually pull in the fabric too close to your hips to give you a bit more space to accommodate for your hips. So but yeah, definitely you could, if you work in top down sweater, but once you split the yoke and you're working on the main body, you could just gradually, as you're going round, you could just gradually increase, even if it's by a couple of stitches. So say on either side of your main body, if you increase one's here and one's that side equally, you know, throughout the rounds as you're working on your main body. You would be surprised how much that adds up, and your sweater won't be straight down. It will kind of just slightly flare out at the bottom. So that's probably the best thing you can do.
I think so. And the great thing about the top down one is that you can then try it on as you go, and you can see how it's fitting you, and also then what length you want it to be. Because I know that lots of people, myself included, if you have got bigger hips, you either want it to go past your hips, or you want it to be above your hips. So I certainly do. I don't want anything that stops on my hips. Because to me that doesn't feel right. I don't think that shows me off to my best advantage. So the top down is great for that reason. But also, like one piece construction, if you start at the bottom and work your way up and go over the top, you can just make it as long as you want it to be to come up to your armholes, and then do the rest, and then match the fronts. So get the length different in that way. I can't think of any other ways. Can you think of any other ways?
I think we've covered most of them I could think of at the moment. If we think of anything else, we will come back to it. Yeah. Like, oh.
Last night I kept thinking, oh, I should have said that. Oh, I should have said that. Lots of people. Elizabeth saying, so many choices. I'm planning to make my first garment. Yay!
Yay!
So that's awesome. Let us know what you choose and what you make and how it goes and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Here we are saying, I don't really like open crochet. I prefer more closed stitches with texture. I can get both in crochet. Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like, it's so adaptable, isn't it? That's the thing. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people are so overwhelmed by the choices that there are.
Yeah,
that it's hard to, and that's kind of why, especially why I wanted to do this video, to kind of break it down and say, well, these are the kind of the vague categories, and this is how you break it down and think about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris. Oh, here we are. Chris saying, I like the look of tulle stitches, but don't like making them. And they go fast. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But they do. I find with tulle stitches, I don't know about you, Veronica, it takes quite a bit of technique to learn to keep the tension within the stitch, doesn't it? Once you get that, it's like everything, isn't it? Once you get it, you get it. But mine, I remember when I first tried them, they're really like floppy if you don't keep them taut. So that a tulle stitch would be, I think, a good one that you actually do need to keep your hook angle down for, because you need to keep it tight. You need to keep it in and then pull up at the last minute. That's a tip you might like to try. Oh, someone's saying the third loop is a new one for me.
Oh, there we go. Do you know what? Actually, let me grab this.
Have you got anything that?
So I'm actually using that stitch for this one as well. This is quite dark yarn, so I'm not quite sure how much it's gonna stand out. But this is the
I can see that
half double crochet that is worked in the third loop. So it's not like, is this my last row? Hang on. So you got the two. Oh, focus. You've got the two loops at the top. And the third loop is gonna be at the back of the stitch, and it's this one here. So you got the top loops there. I'm not quite sure the light is good enough for this.
Yeah, we can see.
But the top loops, and then your third loop is on the back.
It's basically from the extra yarn over that you do, isn't it, before you make the stitch? And it's something that's interesting in different designers. They call the third loop different things, because depending on whether you're in rounds or working in rows, different design. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where on the stitch that you. It's that extra one. You call
it's that extra,
extra loop.
So that's your top loops there. Gosh, focus camera. That's your top loops there. And the third loop, because I'm working in rows, the third loop is facing me. So it's basically this one here.
Extra one. And it's really obvious once you get it, isn't it?
Yeah. Focus. Are we focusing?
There we go. Yeah.
So the top loops are here behind the hook now. So it would be kind of facing me here. That little, once you see it, like some people, I can't see the loop. But then you watch a little video, or you can see a real close-up photo. Oh, that loop. I've been seeing this loop all over. So honestly, it's just the one that's right in front of you. That little extra loop that gets created by the yarn over, but you kind of don't use the loop because you then pull through all the 3 loops, don't you? So that little extra loop is created. If you're working in rows, it's gonna face you. If you're working in rounds, it's gonna be on the back of the stitch. So yeah, you need to pick out that loop. But I have got a quick video on my YouTube channel. I might just pull the link later, or just if you just search half double crochet in 3rd loop only, or I believe I've seen it called camel stitch as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I think like because it's like the back hump. People say work into the back hump of the stitch. So some people call it camel stitch as well. So yeah, just have a Google, have a look. And you honestly, you'll be like, oh, that loop. Yes, of course.
Oh, Lee's here saying, love the look of the textured mystical tee. Think it works because of the fingering yarn. I showed the whip in the worsted yarn. I've got it here actually. Interested to see the result. Yeah, I'm interested to see it as well. It's another whip that I've got on the go. So yeah, I use exactly the same. And this is the thing that I said about 3rd loop, back loop, front loop, like alternating. And yeah, so I'm working exactly the same pattern. It's such a simple construction in a worsted weight yarn, just to see the difference that it makes. But it's like I said in the film, it's a much fuzzier yarn. It's got much more fluff to it. So I don't know that the texture is going to be as nice as it is in the fingering weight yarn.
Yeah, it probably won't stand out as much with that little fuzz, but yeah, that's what you were trying to get across in that video, isn't it? Just put the 2 kind of stitch yarn combo together to see what works and what might not work as well.
Oh, Stacey Ann is saying that I love all stitches and hope to see more summer patterns. Yes.
Oh, would that be because it's nice and warm where you are?
You're going to see more stuff because I'm quickly running out of long-sleeved crochet sweaters, so I'm going to be wearing some summer tops soon today. What's this one saying? Here we are. I have to have variations of stitches for me to fully enjoy crocheting something or have colour work in it. Yeah, single stitch projects just get boring at some point. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do just need something that you can mindlessly, but for me, that's like a blanket. I very often have a blanket that's just in really simple stitches that I can literally just unplug, switch off to. But yeah, I think people, once you get the knack of garment making, I then think people are more adventurous with their stitches and their colour work and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing to see.
Oh gosh, I've got my dog snoring. I do apologize.
She's snoring. Oh,
can you hear her?
I can't hear her.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I can. She's getting louder and louder. So just at what point do I need to go and tell her to go away?
As long as she's happy. Kira is saying, where some people are scared of chunky, she has the same aversion to fingering, sport, DK, etc. Yeah, I don't think you're alone in that. There are lots of people that are very, very frightened of fingering weight, especially.
Yeah.
Mostly because they're saying like of the time that, and if you're used to using bigger hooks and bigger yarn, it feels really clumsy then. If I'm going on projects at the same time and I go from one to the other, I feel really clumsy when I'm then working with fingering weight yarn. So yeah, I completely identify with that.
Yeah.
Oh, Max, lots of people are going to steal your idea of the stitch.
Yeah, there was. Can you make a video tutorial for tall stitches, tension, hook, hold, tip, Hannah, please? I love the look of them, but I hate making them because mine are, as you say, floppy, and last pull through is horrible wide.
Definitely. I will add it to my list. All right. I will do that. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Because they do take, it's like everything, isn't it? They do take some technique, some learning, some experimentation. And I do also think it very much depends on the yarn that you're using for tall stitches. I do find that most of the taller stitches that I've used in my projects are using like cotton yarn because they're in more summery, lacy tops. They are easier, I think, in cotton. Because it's just a more robust fibre and you can actually yank it a bit more than you can the more gentle yarns. But that's just been my experience.
Yeah.
And then we have,
Yes.
is cotton or acrylic yarn best for summer tops? Entirely up to you. It depends what you want from your top and what kind of yarn you'd like to use. Either work absolutely fine. Acrylic would just be a bit warmer for a
Yeah.
summer top, won't it? But it does depend. It depends on the stitch pattern, doesn't it? Because if it's
Yeah.
light and open and stuff, you know, like Veronica's sweater in a cotton would be really heavy, wouldn't it? Because it's
Yeah.
close stitch, whereas mine wouldn't. This is worked in an acrylic and it's really light and it's really soft on me, but it would equally work in a cotton, but you would have a different drape.
Yeah, from like the technical point of view, you would probably say cotton because, you know, with summer, the temperatures, I'm assuming, you know, and cotton's made for summer clothes, isn't it? It's got those properties. It's breathable. It's if you need to wash it a few times, you know, cotton will withstand all those washes. But as Hannah said, you know, it's really what you're looking for in your finished garment. And you know, if you can decide, there are cotton acrylic blends, which basically that yarn blends the best properties of both the cotton and acrylic. Because as Hannah said, cotton gets very heavy, acrylic would be much lighter, but then for, you know, you need the breathability of the cotton for summer tops. So if you can decide, I think cotton acrylic blends, so they're normally about 50-50, aren't they? If you get the blend yarn, they take the best qualities of both of those yarns and combine them together.
Yeah. And I would controversially add into that perhaps to use wool for summer top. I have used wool on summer tops, and actually, if you get the right, it's all about drape again. If you get the right drape with your stitches, they're actually really light. They're not as heavy as you might think, and especially if you use fingering weight or sport weight yarn, they're actually really delicate. And in fact, yeah, I've got like maybe 3 of mine that are summer tops, but they are made using wool. So, so just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also an option. And here we go with the stitches. If you opt for more open stitches with the wool, it's just gonna work just as good as cotton or acrylic.
Yeah, yeah. There's just so many variables. That's the thing. And I think that's again why we're doing this, because that's what I think scares so many people, because it's just like, well, what do? I don't know what to do. And the answer is there are no rules. You just have to get the experience and experiment and listen to us chatting about what we've discovered over time,
Yeah,
and just see what works for you.
I'm just gonna quickly remind everyone of the time. We would be sat here chatting away, and
Sorry, everyone.
the next video is about to premiere over on the Summit page. It's the fabulous Sandra from Nomad Stitches. She's talking to us about color work. So if that's something you wanted to try, do we want to quickly just
well, I was going to say these last 2 questions we'll jot down, and Elizabeth and can't read it. Creative a sketch. Come back, and we will chat about them in either one of the next Q&As. Perfect. So go back to the main page, everyone. Click on that link to find Sandra, and you won't regret it. It's a brilliant video. So we'll see you soon.
See you shortly.